There's been a ton of hype surrounding him, and finally the day is here where Vaughn Grissom is supposed to make his Red Sox debut at Fenway Park.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. And honestly, who doesn't love free? It truly is such a great thing to be able to take advantage of. So you might as well do that. Start your day off the right way with Locked On Red Sox. Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. Welcome to Locked On Red Sox. For those of you who don't know, this is the show where I basically just reflect my emotions onto you, and it likely is the same emotions that you were feeling because this Red Sox team puts me either in a good mood or a bad mood depending on how they perform. And if you are anything like that, I promise you I can relate. You are not the only one. So this is the show where you will get true reaction, feeling, and emotion about how this Red Sox team is doing. So come along for the ride if you haven't tuned in a lot or this is your first episode, first time listening. Thank you for coming to the show. You everydayers, as always, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you forever. The Boston Red Sox are starting a series with the San Francisco Giants tonight, and Vaughn Grissom is finally, after all of this suspense that's been built up, scheduled to make his debut with the Boston Red Sox tonight. Now, obviously, when somebody makes their debut, you don't know how they're going to look in that first game. It's been a bit since he's played in a major league game, so we definitely have to cut him some slack. And one thing I am asking everybody to do is if he does not have a good night at the plate, give it time, be patient. I know that's hard. I know we're all going to be very excited to see him play, but you want to give him the opportunity to acclimate himself, get used to being on that stage, get used to playing at Fenway, and get used to being back in the routine of seeing major league pitching. Now, Vaughn Grissom is a second baseman that the Red Sox acquired this offseason when they traded Chris Sale to the Braves. And he was a very highly regarded prospect in the Braves system. They really did like him over there. They especially admired his commitment to the game and his really good attitude that he had. For example, when the Braves general manager told him about the trade, explaining that they needed to trade for some more pitching, he said, "I can pitch." He's always having his head on a swivel, always looking for ways to improve. And that's definitely a quality that you want to have in this Red Sox locker room, as somebody who always wants to continue to grow their game no matter what. And Grissom definitely possesses that trait. Now, another big thing that you should know about Vaughn Grissom is that he did have a chance to fight for a starting spot at second base for the Braves. I mean, there's just so much talent over there is the thing. But essentially, for a little chunk of time, he was in the running to be their starting second baseman after the departure of Dansby Swanson. but the Braves just have a stacked roster and it just didn't work out for him. So then they decided they could package him in a deal to get some pitching, and that worked out well for them because they were able to get Chris Sale in return, and the Red Sox were able to get somebody that helped fill a huge need, which was a specific second baseman and not just having a bunch of people platoon. Another interesting thing to note about Vaughn Grissom is that he hit his first career home run at Fenway Park. He actually made his MLB debut with the Braves in Boston on August 10th, 2022. He was called up before playing at the AAA level and definitely made the most of that opportunity. He was 21 years old at the time and had himself a day going 2 for 4 at the plate and crushing a home run that went 432 feet. He smoked that ball over the green monster and just showed off some style after with a sweet bat flip. So he definitely has some personality. He hit a home run off of Darwinson Hernandez, throwback, if you remember him. Interesting guy, interesting pitcher. But he then also added a single in the 9th inning in that game and then stole second, which actually made some history because he became the youngest player in Major League history to go yard and steal a base in his debut. So he definitely was warmed up to Fenway Park from that game, obviously has some confidence playing there, which is very good. And he did have a long on base streak at AAA. His on base percentage was so high last season because of a 45 game on base streak, which started with a 2-hit game on June 28th and went all the way to the final series of the season on September 19th. During that streak, he also put together a 14-game hit streak. So that really helped to increase his value and increase his numbers a lot. One thing to look out for is that he does need to improve in the field. His bat is impressive, but his defense needs some work. That ultimately is what cost him his opportunity at being Atlanta's everyday shortstop last season. And the Braves had him play some left field in the Puerto Rican Winter League over the offseason. He's played 44 games in the majors at second base, committing 4 errors for a 974 fielding percentage. In 21 games at shortstop, he had a 914 fielding percentage, committing 6 errors and 70 chances. So essentially, one thing about his game that needs work is definitely his defense, and I think the Braves knew that defensively he couldn't really hack playing shortstop, so he was more in the running to play second base, and that is the position ultimately that the Red Sox are looking to have him play. But his offense is looking very good going into his Red Sox debut because he actually was red hot at the plate in his last rehab start in Worcester. He went 4 for 4 with a walk, 2 RBIs, and a run scored for the Worcester Red Sox on Sunday. So when he's going into this game tonight, he is coming in with a great day at the plate that he can hopefully translate over to his Major League debut and moving forward to future games after this. So I'm very excited to have him here on this team. He played 9 games in Worcester for his rehab assignment. He's now 23 years old and played a combined 64 games with the Braves over the last 2 seasons, but he slashed a batting average of .333, an on-base percentage of .444, and a slugging percentage of .400, also going 4 for 4 in that game. So he definitely made an impact in AAA and was hitting very well. And that's something that I really was drawn to, was his ability to hit a lot of different types of pitches and keep that batting average consistent. So he will make a difference, I feel like, at the plate. We might not see it in his first game with the Boston Red Sox, but I do think we'll see it eventually. He's interesting and intriguing to watch because he definitely can make contact very well. He has some versatility in his swing. He is able to utilize a lot of different parts of the field. And he's also a high contact, low strikeout hitter with excellent bat to ball skills. So his plate discipline, he's already showcasing to be very good. So there are lots of things about Grissom to be excited about. I'm most interested in seeing the way he does impact this offense, and I'm hoping his defense isn't super detrimental because the Red Sox defensively are finally starting to click a little bit and figure things out. So I would hate for that to be ruined when he comes in to play second base. But this was a prospect that was very well desired by the Braves, and I'm sure it was hard for them to part ways with him, but they needed the pitching, and the Red Sox gave up a pitcher who has a great track record of success throughout his career. So hopefully this pays off for the Boston Red Sox. He is a career 287 hitter so far. So hopefully he's able to stay consistent and he can be a rock star for this team. Coming up, I'm going to be talking about what some might say was a little bit of a surprising roster move and explaining why they might have made that move. So that's coming up next. If you're looking to get into sports betting or it's something you've been in for a while, either way, FanDuel is something that you would really enjoy and you can make a lot of money off of. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL, baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, I've seen from personal experience, can help you win a ton of money regardless of what your experience level is with sports betting. So definitely check it out today. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Definitely check out Locked On Sports Today if you want to stay caught up in all things going on in sports. It's a great way to make sure that you're constantly in the loop. Happy Vaughn Grissom Day. Tonight is officially the night that Grissom is supposed to make his Red Sox debut. It's certainly very exciting, and obviously with the activation of a player does come a roster move. So likely that roster move I expect to either be Manuel Valdez or David Hamilton getting optioned back down to AAA. Now, this to me is a situation where I would want Bobby Dahlbeck to get sent back down, but I could totally see it being David Hamilton. He hasn't provided a ton of value overall, and he's been in this weird phase of not being able to showcase enough of what he can do because he hasn't gotten enough of an opportunity. So because of that, he isn't really seen as somebody who could provide a ton of value moving forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if when they officially add Grissom to the roster, we see David Hamilton getting optioned back down to AAA as the corresponding roster move. But the Red Sox did make a little bit of a surprising roster move because over the weekend they traded for first baseman Garrett Cooper from the Cubs. And in the midst of making room for him on the active roster, they DFA'd Pablo Reyes. Now, from an offensive standpoint, I can't say I'm at all surprised. He only batted .183 with a .234 on base percentage and .217 slugging percentage with no home runs, 5 RBIs, and 19 strikeouts compared to just 3 walks over 64 plate appearances on the season. So he wasn't getting it done. He was not able to see the ball well at the plate at all. And defensively, he was decent, but his offense was just really bumping that down a couple tiers just because he wasn't able to perform. The Red Sox couldn't just send Reyes to AAA Worcester because he's out of minor league options now. So the options were really just to DFA him or send somebody else down. So now they'll have 1 week to either trade him, release him, or attempt to pass him through outright waivers. So a few different avenues they can take here. It'll be hard for them to trade him because he wasn't providing a ton of value this year so far. So there might not be many teams who would want him. So the Red Sox might have some trouble with that. But I think people are saying that it's a bit of a surprise move because of his versatility on defense. He could play any of the 4 infield positions and occasionally could even play in the outfield if really needed. And for a Red Sox team that is dealing with quite a few injuries right now, I thought they might have seen Pablo Reyes' defense as being more valuable to the team than the offense of somebody like Bobby Dahlbeck. I am so surprised still that Bobby Dahlbeck is still on this team. I've been saying this for months and even beginning a couple years ago. He just has not worked out here, but he's still alive, lives to see another day. And the Red Sox chose to DFA Pablo Reyes to make room for Garrett Cooper on the active roster. Now, the thing about Reyes to me is that he had the chance to provide some value because last year he did show a little bit more productivity at the plate. So I hoped that because of that, he was going to carry that over into this year. But it was sad because at bat after at bat after at bat from him, I constantly found myself saying, well, Pablo is an automatic out. And it's unfortunate because the more you say that, the more likely it is that he's going to continue to hit that way and he's not going to turn things around because chances are that's just the type of hitter he is and he struggles. And I definitely appreciate the fact that he was able to play third base, could play shortstop, could play second base, was thrown in at first base sometimes. And I thought the Red Sox would see that as a little bit of a safety net due to the fact that there are some players who aren't fully healthy and they've had to string together some players to alternate at certain positions so that they could continue to stay afloat and continue to win games despite the fact that they had injuries. So that was definitely interesting to me and something that I was pretty surprised about because of strictly his versatility. But if you look at his offense alone, it doesn't surprise me and was something that needed to happen eventually. And I did say, somebody's going to get healthy at some point, and Reyes would probably be somebody who gets the call that he's being moved. I thought in this specific scenario it would be Bobby Dahlbeck, but I thought maybe later on when somebody else returns from injury and they need to clear a roster spot, I thought then Pablo Reyes might be the guy once the Red Sox are able to start getting some guys back from injury. So that was definitely a bit of a surprise, but Garrett Cooper being in this lineup is necessary because of how long Tristan Casas is now going to be out. So I'm glad they went out and they actually got somebody to fill that need at first base because they definitely need it. And the thing with this whole Red Sox makeup right now is because Vaughn Grissom is coming back and is expected to be the primary second baseman, then you really have your infield pretty much set primarily. I really like what Grissom brings to the table in a lot of different ways with his bat. I'm interested in seeing his defense, and ultimately if his defense doesn't end up being good, then you reevaluate and you have other players who can kind of platoon into that spot like they've been doing with the middle infield positions anyway to begin with. So there's definitely some growing pains that might come with Grissom being here, but I don't think they're going to be disappointed in the move itself. And I just like his ability to join an infield that really was just starting to look cohesive in terms of making better plays defensively. So if you can add him into that mix, hopefully the Red Sox team as a whole on defense can just make more of the routine plays and can make the right decisions when they're playing defense to know what to do with the ball, who to give it to, who to throw to, what play they should be making, who to tag, if anybody, whether they need to touch the bag. I mean, there are simple baseball IQ related things that this Red Sox team has missed on this year, and I've noticed a difference in that significantly. So adding Grisham to that, I think, will be a great way to add to what's been an increased level of defense recently. So very excited to have him. Pablo Reyes getting DFA'd for sure was a bit of a surprise at the specific moment. I thought it would have been a little bit later, and the corresponding roster move for Garrett Cooper would have been for somebody different. But I do think ultimately it needed to happen because the Red Sox did give Reyes chances and he wasn't able to figure it out at the plate. So ultimately they did what they felt was best, and I definitely wish the best for him. I've always been a fan of Reyes, and I just wish him the absolute best wherever he goes. Coming up, though, now that Vaughn Grissom is returning, what exactly does the Red Sox infield alignment look like? You'll find out next. If you use DoorDash for your food delivery services and needs, then you already know how great of an app it is. And it also offers a lot more things on there too than just food. And you can do the same for your mom for Mother's Day and offer her a variety of cool gifts using DoorDash. You can make your mom's day on Mother's Day by starting her off with flowers, or you can even surprise her with gifts from the brand she loves, delivered the very same day with DoorDash. You can spoil your mom with anything that meets her interests, and DoorDash will have it for you. You can get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. It's a great deal and a great way for you to make your mom feel special. Just don't forget to use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That is the way that you can unlock these perks and be able to save some money. So head to DoorDash today, use the code LOCKEDONMLB, and you can unlock that 50% off your next order. It really is a great way to shower your mom with love and appreciation for everything she does with you this Mother's Day. Also, you should download Locked On Sports today, as we as a network have launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is so exciting for the network because nobody else has a free 24/7 streaming channel. So if you're looking to stay caught up in all things going on in sports all the time, no matter what time zone you're in, Locked On Sports Today is absolutely the place for you. So with Vaughn Grissom being back and the excitement of him making his Boston Red Sox debut, there's a lot of hype surrounding him and how he's going to perform, and hopefully he does live up to the hype because he could be a huge addition to this Red Sox team, especially on offense, if he lives up to what he's supposed to be. Now, with him coming back and Pablo Reyes now DFA'd, what does the infield alignment look like for the Red Sox? So you definitely have your obvious in Rafael Devers at third base and now Garrett Cooper at first base. Those will be the two primary guys that play in the corners. Maybe occasionally Bobby Dahlbeck playing one of those two positions if somebody gets injured or if they need a rest day. So he'll be likely that third guy who's kind of being utilized as a backup for the corner positions. Then in the middle infield, Vaughn Grissom will primarily play second base. And then at shortstop, the Red Sox lately have just been rolling with Cedar Rafaela as the primary shortstop. And I'm glad they honestly did that because it was getting really irritating, the fact that they were platooning guys all over the place to play shortstop and play second base. Not that they had a huge choice, but it's always better when you pick one guy and stick with it. So they seem to have picked Rafaela and they're going to stick with him at shortstop. So it'll likely be him there and Vaughn Grissom at second base for the most part. David Hamilton, I see getting sent back down to AAA. So then that leaves Enmanuel Valdez. Where does he fit into this whole thing? And he, to me, is going to be that other additional player who gets used at either second base or shortstop if Grissom or Rafaela has a day off or needs to rest or might be feeling tightness and can't play that day. So he to me is just going to be that filler piece for in case they need somebody to come in and play one of those two positions, because to me he's a lot better option than David Hamilton. He's at least shown some ability on offense. David Hamilton hasn't really shown that. David Hamilton has the speed going for him, and if he gets on base, he can make it around the bases and score runs because of his speed. But overall, there's more upside with Valdez. He offers more, and defensively, he started to look a little bit better as of lately. So he makes the most sense to keep around, and then you primarily stick with Rafaela at shortstop, have Grissom play second, Cooper at first, and Devers at third. And then if need be, Valdez could step in and be that guy that plays either shortstop or second base when a situation happens where one of their two main guys can't play. So that's what I expect from the infield in terms of what they'll look like. And I'm just hoping that they can still look like a cohesive unit defensively, because one thing with sticking Vaughn Grissom in there is the fact that you do have to be a little bit concerned about his defense. It's certainly not his strong suit. And the Red Sox were finally starting to look like a more cohesive unit defensively in the infield when Rafaela became kind of the full-time shortstop. So because of all of that, the question now becomes, can Grissom fit in with that? And can he defensively be a player that can help make those double plays work as effectively as they've been working as of late? Can he be a player who can slot right into this infield and play good defense and be able to keep the chain moving? Because what would be really unfortunate is if he starts playing in games and he's hitting well, but then his defense completely doesn't align and he's making a ton of errors at second base. Then it's going to look like, okay, well, what are we doing here? I mean, is his defense making it worth acquiring him? Now, obviously, I don't think that's going to happen, and I'm over dramatizing what may occur. This is kind of worst case scenario, and he's an awful defender, which I definitely don't think is going to happen just from the reports that have come out about him as a defensive player. I just think he struggles to know what play to make when sometimes. And that's something that certainly could be fixable, but he just needs to use good judgment on defense, and he needs to be able to field the routine plays, and then other things will come in place from there, because there's going to be more plays that are harder, more plays that are easier. It just really depends. But at the end of the day, he just needs to make the plays. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking at with this infield defense is, are they as an overall group going to increase or decrease as a defensive unit and the numbers of errors that they're making with Grissom in there or not? And the Red Sox were struggling a lot defensively before Rafaela got slotted in at shortstop. And there was a similar question of, okay, what is the Red Sox defense going to look like? Is this a team that can fix this problem, or do they just have a lot of notoriously bad infielders on the team? And then they decided they're going to have Rafaela roll at shortstop, and ever since then, things have been better. And I think that's more what needs to happen. Just players having that mindset of knowing, okay, I'm the guy playing this position, and they're finding some level of consistency as opposed to trying to rotate guys in there to play these positions and hope that it works out with all of them, because that simply is just not going to be the case. Some of these guys are going to struggle more than others. And if you find that sense of consistency early, even if they struggle early on, then hopefully they could get acclimated, and then down the road, it leads to them being more successful overall as players. So if they could stick to that consistency of Rafaela at shortstop and Grissom at second base, yes, it might take some time for Grissom to get up to speed, but if he can get up to speed with the Red Sox and their system, then he could gain a sense of comfortability out there in the infield, and then hopefully be able to produce in the way the Red Sox want him to produce on defense. I'm not concerned very much about his offense, but it is going to be a question of, can he play defense effectively? And only time will tell. But overall, for closing thoughts on Vaughn Grissom, I think he's going to be a stud in this league. I think it's too soon to conclude if his defense is something we should be fully worried about, but it's definitely something to have a little bit of caution around in terms of monitoring about his game, is definitely the defensive struggles that he's shown in the past. But offensively, he doesn't generate a lot of swings and misses. He has good plate discipline for the most part, generates a lot of hard contact, which would be very good for Fenway because that means he could utilize a lot of different parts of the ballpark. So if he's able to do that and utilize all those different areas, that would be a great way for him to be able to be successful at the major league level. So keep an eye out for Grisham. Wouldn't be surprised if an announcement comes later today that David Hamilton has been sent back down to Worcester. It just makes the most logical sense right now based on the Red Sox and the moves that they've made so far this season and what they're trying to do to make the team better. So go Vaughn Grissom. I'm super excited for him. Super happy to see him making his debut after all this time and all the hype surrounding him as a prospect, and the fact that he got injured and wasn't able to play right away was definitely disappointing. So I'm looking back at the situation that happened then and saying, I'm glad they didn't rush him back and they let him take the time he needed to recover, because hopefully as a result, now he can stay healthy for the rest of the season and contribute in a way that the Red Sox were hoping he would contribute early on. As always, though, like I always say, keep an eye out for Vaughn Grissom. Hope you're as excited as I am to see him make his debut. Keep the faith. Go Red Sox as always, and I will catch you on the flip side.